The Too Tall Sports Podcast is brought to you by Vegas Sports Advantage. Yes, we have our first sponsor. My thanks to them. Clients of Vegas Sports Advantage are winning big in 2021, and you can be a part of the winning too. Become a client today by clicking the link in the description below of the episode or the show notes, wherever you can find the text underneath this episode on your app or on YouTube in the comment section. Use promo code TOOTALL. It's all one word, TOOTALL, Too Tall, and you get 25% off your package thanks to our partnership with Vegas Sports Advantage. They are a bet texting service. They give you tips. They send you the plays right before the game. They're not a sports book. You'll make the plays on your own sports book or own sports betting website. They're just going to text you every day with their best plays. They're killing it this year. So my thanks to Vegas Sports Advantage. I use the service as well. Already made money on it. So I'm a big believer. These guys are doing really good things with their algorithm, and however they figure it out, these guys have the advantage. So that's why they're called Vegas Sports Advantage. Check them out. Use promo code TOOTALL. All right, welcome to my opening thoughts. It's a new segment I'm trying out. So just before my interviews, to give you guys a little more me, a little more of my opinion. So I wanted to do so. So today, my opening thoughts are going to be about the sticky situation in baseball. Pun intended, yes. They're in a little bit of a predicament right now with sticky stuff, and are pitchers allowed to use it? Is some of it okay? All that, they're cracking down. We had our first pitcher, Hector Santiago, for the Mariners, got suspended the other day for using foreign substances. So what's going on, right? I'll give you my thoughts on it. I think the overall theme and the problem with baseball, especially Major League Baseball, is that some cheating is allowed and some cheating is not. For instance, you can steal signs if you're getting them from the catcher. If you're a runner on second base, you're peering into the catcher and you get the signs, you relay them to the hitter so you can tell them what's coming, right? That's apparently that's allowed, right? That's part of the game. I mean, maybe at the college or high school level, you can watch the pitch, you can watch the coaches, and okay, now I got their signs, right? You can watch the infielders give the looks, the number of looks to the pitcher for him to look back at second base. So you have the right timing. You can steal those. But once you bring in electronics and you got little buzzers on your back or your back pocket, now all of a sudden it's a problem. The baseball has to figure out where the line is, right? It's all of a sudden, okay, we'll let you do some stuff. Like, for instance, pitchers are using sunscreen and rosin. That is the mixture that is like the widely accepted. It's been okay forever. Nobody has an issue with it. And now all of a sudden they got spider tack. Oh no, well, now we can't hit anymore. Lowest batting average in 50 years. All of a sudden the hitters can't do anything. No hitters galore early in the season. Okay, so now we got to crack down, right? That's the issue with Major League Baseball. Some cheating's allowed. Too much of it, not allowed. It's been like that forever in baseball. And those are kind of the unwritten weird rules that nobody really understands, right? So full disclosure, most of you guys know I played minor league baseball. I never used any substances. I didn't need them. My grip was fine. I didn't need it to get a better grip on my breaking ball or more RPMs on my fastball. Like, I came up in the non-spin rate era. So I would consider myself old school in that regard. Like, it just wasn't, spin rate wasn't a metric. I got out of the game in 2014. It just wasn't a thing. And then over the last 4 or 5 years, things have really changed with analytics and the way, pitchers are learning to throw harder, and the science behind pitching now. And there's so much information now. And so now with this spider tack stuff, which is the, substance that everybody's mad about, it's changing the spin rate and it's making it tougher to hit because you can throw a ball with a little more RPMs. It'll get more of a rise on it. So it's get a little quicker, a little more jump off your hand. Or your breaking ball will have more of a snap. It's got more movement, right? The more spin, the more it moves. Totally get that. It's never been a problem until now. And now I guess some people are saying pitchers are abusing their rights with the sticky stuff, right? Okay. I do agree that they are abusing it, and it is cheating. Technically, yes, it is cheating. No one's really had an issue kind of with sunscreen and rosin. It was the kind of golden accepted thing that people were using. So now all of a sudden nobody can hit. So it's a problem. I don't like the pageantry of the pitchers getting checked after every inning. They got to show them their belt, their hat, their hand, their uniform, their glove. They got to show them it all, right? And they took Santiago's glove, the guy who got suspended, and they're sending it to New York to get inspected. Come on. It's a sticky substance. Like, really? Who cares? So I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Yes, it's cheating 100%. It is. But I've always wondered, why do hitters get to put pine tar on their bat? And why do they get to wear batting gloves to hold the bat? Because baseball's hard. So they're getting them a little advantage to help them grip the bat better. So I've heard hitters say they'd prefer guys to have sticky stuff to control nowadays 100 miles an hour so it doesn't hit them in the head. I think people would prefer that, especially hitters that are sitting in the box like, I don't want to get hit by that. I want guys that are going to throw strikes. So if little sticky stuff can help you throw strikes, I'm all for it. And I have heard hitters say that. I don't know what to do with baseball as far as this goes. I don't like the punishment for this. I think it's crazy to get 10 games. And I think I want to go back to the Houston Astros. The players for the Houston Astros that cheated to win that World Series in 2017 didn't get a game, didn't get anything. You're telling me that guys using sticky stuff to manipulate the ball are going to get 10 games, but the Houston Astro players got to keep their World Series ring, keep their playoff money, and never got a single game suspension. And they completely manipulated the game, totally cheated it, and they got nothing. I'll never understand that. I'll never get the decision by Rob Manfred to leave them alone. The coach got fired at the time, who's back in the game now, AJ Hinch, he's coaching the Tigers, and the GM got fired. That's it. Slap on the wrist. They got to keep everything else. Completely ridiculous. So I've never understood the whole baseball thing where some cheating is allowed, and it's okay, but too much cheating, not allowed. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Send me a DM at Too Tall Sports Podcast. Send me an email, tootallsportspodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you think about this. It is a sticky situation. Will it go away? I don't know. I guess it's kind of a fluid situation here, but just want to give you my thoughts on it. Overall, I do think it's cheating for sure to use substances. Yes. Do I think they're taking it too far? Yes, I do. One quick thing. Hitters have changed their approach, whether it's launch angle with exit velocity, all these metrics now. So if you're watching this, dipping and ripping, right? They dip that back shoulder and they're trying to lift and up, swing up. You're going to get guys. That's why pitchers are throwing high now. They're throwing above your bat path. So good luck trying to hit 100 when you're trying to dip and rip and the ball's going above your bat path. Some of this is on the pitchers for cheating with illegal substances, and some of this is on the hitters for having terrible approaches at the plate. The amount of strikeouts are up. The amount of there's not as many stolen bases anymore. There's no first to third. There's no manufacturing runs anymore. None of that stuff. It's all gone. It's homers and strikeouts and walks. I mean, it's become tough to watch. So I think I don't know if they're ever going to get it back into the game, but the amount of strikeouts is alarming. There's just a lack of action in baseball. There's just not a lot of stuff happening. So hopefully baseball can figure this out and we can get back to watching a fun game again. Obviously the playoffs are always great in baseball, but let's make it watchable during the regular season. So lots of stuff to come, I'm sure, with this issue, but thanks for listening to my opening thoughts. And now we'll get to the interview. What is up? Back again with another episode of the Too Tall Sports Podcast. Thank you for joining me. As always, you can follow us at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter. That's at Too Tall Sports. Head over to our YouTube channel if you're not there already watching this interview. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get notified every time we drop an episode, which is Thursday mornings, and usually around 9 a.m. Pacific. Please drop a comment, share it, like it, everything you got to do to get more exposure for the show. We really appreciate it. So head on over to YouTube, just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. You can find us there. On the audio side, you can follow us on Apple Podcasts. Please just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast, subscribe, scroll all the way down to the bottom if you could. Toward the end, find those 5 stars, hit them, all 5 of them, and give us a shout out there if you could. Drop a comment, review. It helps the show. So we really appreciate that. You can also listen on Spotify. We're there. You can also listen on Amazon Music, Pandora, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. Today's guest is Noel Prasad. He works for a company called Clubbie, which is kind of similar to More Than Baseball, where they're helping minor leaguers and other professional athletes find housing during season and in the off season as well. As we all know, minor league lifestyle is not glamorous. If you listen to any of my episodes on here with former athletes and current baseball players, they'll tell you how crappy the minor leagues are. So a lot of these organizations are really trying to, flip the script on helping these guys if the organizations are not going to. So anyway, that's Noel Prasad from Clubbie. He also used to work for MVP Sports Group, which is a sports agency. So they had guys like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, And he actually had something really cool happen to him. He was one of the integral parts of getting Fernando Tatis Jr. on the cover of the MLB video game, The Show. So pretty cool to interview him today, and I hope you enjoy it. We'll see you on the other side. Talk. Going crazy. Talk. All right, welcome back to the Too Tall Sports Podcast. My next guest works on the athlete marketing and services team for a company called Clubbie. They specialize in finding housing for professional athletes during their seasons and also endorsement services off the field as well. He previously worked for MVP Sports Group, which is a sports agency for pro athletes. He's a native of Santa Monica, and he went to college at UC Riverside. He is Noel Prasad. What's up, Noel? Thanks for being on the show, man.
What's up, Brett? Thanks for having me. Super pumped to be on Too Tall.
Yeah, man, me too. You're going to be tall today. So we'll talk all about Clubbie in a little bit. Just want to get a little bit of your background before we do so. As I mentioned, you're originally from Santa Monica. You know, obviously we all play sports growing up and stuff like that. But what got you interested in sports when you're younger? You know, maybe what sports you did or what sports you follow, your teams, and any of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You know, born and raised in Santa Monica. Actually, sports, it really started with baseball. My uncle growing up, he would always take me to Dodger games. And he would always get them for free, like from his company. So I would be going to Dodger games, I don't know, at least like 10 games out of the season every year for a little while. So that really had me as a diehard Dodger fan. And then in high school, I played football, played defensive tackle and center. So I'm a bigger guy, you know, so I was on the line having a good time. Okay. So that's really where all my passion came from sports. And obviously, you know, when you're talking to the homies and stuff, you're always excited about the Lakers and the Dodgers, what's going on, especially in LA.
Right. Now, when you realized you weren't going to be playing sports in college, when did you think about doing marketing? Like, where did that interest come from? Is it just a way for you to stay in the game? Like, where was your thought process on that?
Yeah. So marketing, actually, it came from in my sophomore year of high school. We had this program called the Regional Occupancy Program, ROP, where they actually brought like business classes to students and stuff like that to mix it up a little bit. And my first day of class, somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to join this marketing essentials class?" And pretty much ever since then, I was in that class. I was in this association of marketing students called DECA. And pretty much from there, like I've just had my passion for marketing. Where it came in for sports is, I've always had passion for sports, but never really thought I was going to work in sports in the long run or anything like that. I was more just excited to do marketing and, you know, help brands build their images and stuff like that. But the opportunity to work in sports came as soon as I graduated college when MVP had an open internship, and I just kind of landed that. So I was really lucky to kind of get my foot in the door in the sports industry.
Sure. And before we get to that, I was going to ask you about, you know, growing up in Santa Monica, obviously you got UCLA, you got USC, you got, you know, great schools in the area, but you choose to leave the beach and go to UC Riverside, you know, hating on Inland Empire a little bit.
It's hot. It
was hot, man. And no water in sight. What made you want to go there, and what about that school drew you in?
So a lot of it. Okay. So yeah, I'm from Santa Monica, but I feel like when you're born somewhere, you kind of don't understand kind of how awesome it is because you're in it all the time. So right. I didn't understand the economics or anything, me growing up. I just knew like, all right, I'm trying to leave the nest for a little bit, have a good time. And then just, you know, walking on UCR's campus, I was like, this place is awesome. I loved it. And then obviously I didn't love the heat so much, but it was close enough from home that, you know, I could drive back home and it wasn't an issue. So I could do both at the same time. And then also they gave me a lot of scholarship money, which made it a lot easier for me, you know, now. So it was worth it. It was the right choice.
Yeah, no, I believe, yeah. Anybody that's willing to give you scholarship money is always the right choice, right? So that's good. As far as, you know, when you were in college, then where did that start? Where you were really starting to, did you work with the teams there, like on marketing? Like, where did that all start? Where you were thinking, all right, maybe I want to do a career in sports marketing while
In
you're in
sports.
college? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was none, to be honest. I mean, if you know UC Riverside, we're a D1 school, but our teams are not the best.
Well, they got
Let me,
baseball. So yeah,
they
I
got
played the Big
baseball.
West too, right? So
Yeah.
I went to
Okay.
Long Beach and they got, Big West baseball. But
Uh,
other than that, I'm with you.
yeah. So, they don't have all that. They don't have a lot of money that they're putting into their athletics program, which I wish they did, because there definitely is, like, those fans at the school, which I was one of those guys. Like, I'm one of those guys that goes to the baseball games, goes to all the basketball games with all my buddies, and we show up in crowds of 20, 30 guys, and we're getting rowdy and we're trying to have a good time. So that's where, I was always ingrained a little bit in the sports of UCR, and I'm definitely a top 10 fan of UCR athletics, where me and my buddies, we're keeping up with it, even though it's not a big thing, maybe
Sure.
for some, but we definitely put a lot of passion into our UCR athletics.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's cool. So you met the eventual founder of Clubbie, Jordo, in college, and you guys were roommates, I believe, for a while. Did you guys ever discuss the idea of going into business together, or was it just like you were gonna? Was that like just not even a thought?
Well, I always knew that he was, like, very savvy and very business orientated, and I knew that he would be able to create something that was going to succeed in the future, regardless of what that was. But it actually, that when we were roommates, it he was more, he wasn't specifically looking to go into sports as either, but his senior year, he wanted to get an internship at a baseball agency or a
Right.
sports agency, just to give it a shot. And he actually randomly one day, I was remember we were sitting in our room, and he goes on the MVP Sports Group website. He's looking at it, and if you go on the website, it's just a single page with, like, basically like their mission statement. And he accidentally clicked on it, and it sent him to a info email, and, like, it had an email, info@mvpsportsgroup.com, and he basically just sent the email. They brought him in. He took a quarter off of school, and the history's there. He got the gig after, and once he graduated before me. Then once I graduated, he's like, "Yo, we got this marketing internship." So I hopped on, and it was actually it was a really fun experience, because nobody knew that we knew each other prior, and we're sitting right next to each other, like, looking at each other every day, like, holy shit, I can't believe we're here right now.
That's awesome. So yeah, and I do want to get into that about working at MVP. So you're fresh out of college. You're working your first marketing internship. What are like kind of what did you learn there? What were the goals of the marketing team about, especially with baseball? It's such an under-marketed sport.
Mhm.
What were the goals there when you were working there early on?
Yeah, so my marketing internship, when I walked in, I'm thinking, yo, I'm going in, I'm going to be working on endorsements for players and stuff like that. But as the little guy, you're not doing that at all, really. I first started, and I was working on charity events for Manny Machado, Josh Donaldson, and Yonder Alonso at the time, at that summer. And so my job was to get silent auction items for their event. So basically, I mean, I put my head down. I was like, yo, I have an opportunity here. Let me put my head down and let me just grind. So I would be making lists of, if it was Manny Machado in Baltimore at the time, I would make a list of essentially every company in Baltimore. And then I'm just cranking out phone calls all day, cranking out phone calls, sending emails, boom, 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 until so I was doing that for months. I mean, I was doing a good job. And then one day, my boss at the time, her name was Kimberly Prasad. She was the VP of marketing. She hit me up and she's like, "Yo, we're doing these gift bags for all of the players, and we can't find a bag. We can't find, like, a bag to put everything in. Nobody's giving us any love or anything like that." And so she's like, "If you get this, I will take you to lunch personally." And as an intern, you're like, "Oh, damn, I got to
Yeah.
get this."
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, I'm trying to make all these phone calls to all these people, blah, 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 and if I'm not having any luck. But basically, I was like, all right, I got a couple more chances. Like, let me just put some honesty in my message. And I reached out to Toomey, and I said something like, "Hey, I'm an intern. Like, I need this opportunity. My boss said she'd give me a lunch and like this would be one step towards me getting the job. Like, would you be down to hook us up with these bags? And she said yes. And so kind of from there, kind of helped my, elevate my game at MVP. And then from there, then I started working on those. And then it turned into getting product for guys and stuff like that. And then eventually seeking endorsement opportunities for our guys. So
So
it's like
you're working with, like Nike and big companies like that, or at least making calls on those companies?
so not necessarily like Nike, Adidas, and all
Yeah.
these athletic companies, because the agency has an equipment side where they
Yeah.
do all those deals, for those guys,
Right.
Franklin or Rawlings and stuff
Sure.
like that. So not necessarily those, but working with companies like Bose, Fiji Water, like
Okay.
like these product companies, and trying to get them to throw some money at our players or give some product to them.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, one big breakthrough that you had was, I know you don't want to take credit for this, but I talked to your business partner. So, he let me know it was okay. But you were partly responsible for getting Fernando Tatis Jr. on the cover of MLB The Show, the video game. So, I mean, that's a huge deal. So run me through how that all went.
That was a dream come true. I was that was awesome. Like easily one of my greatest achievements. Well, everybody as a kid, they're playing their video games, they're playing Madden, they're playing
Sure.
FIFA, the show, and they see the guy on the cover and they say, I want to be on the cover one day. I want to be that guy. Fortunately, it's not going to happen for 99% of us. And so once I was in the agency, one of the first goals of mine was to eventually, as an intern, I was like, looking down, trying to manifest it. Like, I want to get a guy on the cover of the show. And our VP at the time, because they did the show for Josh Donaldson in 2016. And so she had a poster of it like in her office, and I would just look at it every day. And I was like, that's awesome. And so basically what had happened was I started I was like, okay, I need to create this relationship with PlayStation. And so I was just reaching out to PlayStation left and right. I didn't know who to reach out to. At the time, our vice president, Kimberly, she had left. And so I finally was connected to a guy. And so I was like, I need to give all that I can. And so I'm following up, keeping this relationship going on the phone, whatever I can do to provide him value on our end. I was like, I'm trying to basically make this connection with him where, we can trust each other and hopefully one day it'll happen. And so later on last year in COVID, we brought on a new marketing manager as well. And he had a good relationship with the MLBPA. And so he reached out to the MLBPA and he said, who's the guy that I need to like connect to talk about the show cover? And they gave him the contact, and it was the same guy that I had been talking to for the past year and a half.
Nice.
And so I was like, I had no idea. I was just talking to him as, I'm just trying to essentially be friends, like, have a friendship with this guy. And that's how it happened. And then one day I would go back to him and call him once I knew, and try to set up this call to kind of put it in his ear a little bit like, oh, what about the show? What about Tatis? What about Manny? And one day he called me and he said, hey, what do you think about Tatis being on the cover of the show? And I went nuts. I went absolutely nuts. It was awesome. You got to stay professional, but on the inside, I was screaming.
Oh, for sure. That's a huge deal. And so just for clarification, so Tatis, obviously, and Machado, those are all part of, and they're with MVP,
Yeah.
right? So he happened to be, luckily you had the biggest star right now, on your roster. So
yeah, I mean, and like the credit is there, like it's cool, but at the end of the day, a lot of the times how the MLBPA does their endorsement deals and stuff like that is the brand usually will go directly to the PA, and then they will reach out to the agency to coordinate it. But I thought I did a good enough job where I had PlayStation reach out to us directly. So that was pretty cool.
Hey, yeah, that's awesome, man. And then, of course, as big as that is, what came out of that for you? That's the downside, right? You made this huge splash, and then what do you get for getting him on the cover?
Not really much. Not really much. Yeah, not really much. But I did have the satisfaction of that, and now it's kind of something that I'll always be able to talk about, and something that at least it looks cool to my homies. Like, I can tell
for sure it does. That's a huge deal.
And we get some free copies of the game too. So that's
nice.
That's a bonus.
And you know what? Maybe it's a connection for down the road. You never know, right? You're still
Yeah.
young and making those connections. That's awesome. You never know who you'll need later on.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about some other stories maybe you had at your time in MVP, whether it's dealing with players, dealing with management, dealing with other agencies or endorsement, deals. What can you tell us about maybe some other stories that from your time in MVP?
Well, first off, MVP Sports Group, a great agency. I had an incredible 3 years there, run by Dan Lozano, Eileen Artunian. Like, I loved my time there. And now that I look back on it, I'm like, everything I did, even though it was hard, it was amazing. Like, it was cool. And if it wasn't hard, and I didn't have these obstacles that I had to overcome, then I wouldn't be in the situation where I am today with that experience. So
Right.
it's like, it's all love, definitely.
Sure.
But some of the cool stuff, one of the coolest things is we have a office fantasy football league, and Josh Donaldson is actually in our fantasy football league. And so I remember, obviously I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And one day he sent me a trade. I don't remember who it was, but it was a bad trade on his end, horrible trade. And I accepted it immediately. And then like 2 hours later, I get a call from our commissioner, and he's like, hey, Josh doesn't want, he wants to flip the trade back. And I was like, no, hell no, I ain't flipping the trade back. And but after talking a little bit, I was like, all right, maybe it's fine. He's a client, got to take care of the clients first.
Sure.
And I was like, can I get a signed jersey or something out of it? Like, let me get something. And so he said he would coordinate it. And so Josh Johnson, technically, I never got it, so he still owes me a jersey. So Josh Johnson, if you're listening to this, my signed jersey.
I'm gonna have to get on I'll have to try to track him down and get him for the podcast, but I'll ask him about that too. But smart on your part, right?
Remember.
Oh no,
yeah.
Smart on your part though. He is a client. You don't want one of you guys to piss him off, and he goes to another agency.
I'm a little guy. Right. Guy. I'm nobody. But like, yeah, I was like, just take it.
That was good of you to take the high road there. So you end up leaving MVP during the pandemic. Tell us how you went from there to reuniting with your college roommate to go to Clubbie.
Yeah. So, well, I had left. My grandma got sick.
Sure.
She had cancer. So I basically said, I'm going to take a step down to take care of my grandmother at the time. And so after a month, she passed. And so I knew that Jordan was working on this. And so I kind of hit him up and I said, hey, like, why don't we collaborate in some ways? If you're doing the housing aspect of it, and I was working on all this product and a little bit of endorsement side of it, we can kind of bring it together and make something a little more fun. And, I know that the housing side of it at the time is like the core, revenue builder. This can kind of be an incentive to bring in new clients and show them that we can provide them more value. And so, Jordan was on board. And so we kind of he was like, you know what, like, this is our first year doing Clubbie. What if, what if like we do gift bags? I did a lot of gift bags for a lot of events and stuff. So he's like, what if we bring some of your partners and we do some gift bags for the guys who use Clubbie? And so, we built out this gift bag. I actually have one. Can I show it to you?
Sure.
Can I show you some of the cool stuff we got?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Look at this. So we got these sick bags, spray ground backpacks. And then like on the,
it's like a Louis V.
A little Louis V. They do a little knockoff piece, right. But it's okay. You got some snacks. You got to have some snacks.
Sure.
Some Big League Chew.
Okay.
Baseball players, they got to have their sunflower seeds.
Right. So who does this all go to?
These are going to be going to the people who house the athletes that house with us this year. Okay. For spring training, for this season.
Okay.
For the summer, we got some Kula sunscreen.
Nice.
It's summertime. And then we got some of these sunglasses from State Optical, which are pretty cool. These are my favorite right here. The Dearborn Mochas. They're fire. And then obviously you gotta have the prime audio equipment for the athletes when they're trying to get in the zone. And we got some cool stuff from Bose where they gave us some quiet comfort earbuds. Nice. And then these sick like sunglasses. So, and then these glasses will play like music while you're on the field or whatever.
Very cool.
So this is some of the fun stuff. Like to me, I get a thrill out of this. Like I get a thrill out of a company being like, yo, we're down. We're going to send you guys some product. And that kind of stuff like really gets me happy. And I love to be able to try to provide as much value as possible for those guys. So
Right. So that's
yeah.
where I wanted to go next is exactly what. So Clubbie, obviously, and let me explain what the term Clubbie. So just from my knowledge, like when we're in minor league baseball, every manager, every clubhouse has a clubhouse manager, and they're nicknamed the Clubbie. So they kind of provide, they do the laundry, they clean cleats for guys, they go get beers or tobacco or whatever the guys want during the series, and then you have clubhouse dues at the end of every series to take care of these guys who are, getting food ready, the post game spread, pregame, all the stuff you need. So that's where the term Clubbie comes from. What does your company, Clubbie, do for players in minor leaguers? I know you kind of touched on it, but exactly what do you guys do and what are you trying to accomplish for minor leaguers?
Yeah, so we like to say we champion the player. Obviously we started mostly focusing on baseball, but we're looking to expand it. I mean, we are already expanding. We're looking to be a part of this NFL season and the NBA season coming up, and even the NHL season. But definitely core rooted came from wanting to take care of minor league players. And a lot of the minor league players, these agencies, these full service agencies, they're getting paid by 3 to 5 players who are paying the bills, bringing in the revenue and stuff like that. And sometimes, these younger guys, they're not going to get the attention they need for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
So we're here to alleviate that pressure off the agency, where we can help these younger players. And basically we're going to help develop them that the time that you're not giving them, but we're going to give them resources to help develop them more confidently as they're going through, the minor league system. So that's kind of why we think, we saw the incentive basically for us to work and alleviate the stress off these agents.
Right. So it's providing housing that maybe agencies won't do themselves.
Yes. And like there's like the full service agencies, somewhat like sorry, I got a phone call. Oops. Am I on?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So like these full service agencies like MVP, they do marketing, they do PR, they do charity events. They're the ones who are going to be doing, the housing for guys. And we just were like, okay, these are all things that are not bringing revenue to the company, but they are providing that as a service.
Sure.
And so there are a lot of agencies that aren't full service as well, that are really just focusing on the contracts. So we saw that as, there's a lot of opportunity in that, where we can kind of bring that, we can put that on us. You can put that burden on us and we'll take care of it for you guys.
Right. Now, is it also just in season, or do you guys help with, players off season as well? Like just because, they have to live somewhere in the off season, sometimes they can't just live at home. Does any of that factor in?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we just started last year in August, right? So we are open. Absolutely. There is no limit. We're here 24/7, 365, like whatever these agents need, whatever they need help with, we want to be there. We want to be providing the best service. And our goal is to ultimately make the agent look like the hero to their clients, so they can go and say, hey, we brought these housing options. What do you like? Hey, we have these products. What do you like? Hey, we have this endorsement. How can we make this work? And so they can spend more time recruiting players, basically.
Right. No, I totally understand that. I recently had Jeremy Wolf on, who started More Than Baseball, which is that nonprofit that helps minor leaguers, especially with the issues that they face, every year, whether it's lack of food, lack of, mental health skills, lack of housing, anything. And you guys are trying to work with similar goals in mind. What's it been like, in that regard during the pandemic, maybe, or working with More Than Baseball and trying to basically the whole goal of getting minor leaguers the help they need?
Yeah, so we love, working with More Than Baseball. That's like our strongest partnership that we have right now. We actually came out and released what we call our Pro Ball Housing Guide, which is we created with More Than Baseball to essentially help minor leaguers find housing in whichever city they are. So we made it simple to say, hey, we're part of this team. We're part of the AA, organization, and kind of here are all of everything put together, consolidated, that will make it easy for you to, find housing that's affordable.
Right. And now, so my next question would be, you guys talk to these corporate housing groups to find homes for these guys, or how does that end work where you guys are the middleman between that?
Yeah, I mean, we basically, we work with a lot of these housing companies and stuff, but we had to put in the time and effort to make all the phone calls, basically create these relationships. And it's if you're saying, hey, we're going to bring you guys a guy like, I don't know, let's say Manny Machado or something to live,
Sure.
there's a lot more, they're more excited about that. And, they're willing to work with that. If we're saying, hey, we're bringing professional athletes to you. And so like, it was a little bit easier on that end to basically convince these housing companies to say, we want to work with Clubbie.
Gotcha. Okay. What do you think has been the biggest challenge so far? Whether it's getting into this industry, just having a niche part of the industry that there's a need for to help these guys with housing. What is maybe some of your challenges you've seen already within the first year?
I think it's, obvious. Well, one of the biggest things is we always want to keep finding more housing. We want to be able to, we got the Beamington Rumble ponies and, wherever, we want to be
Yeah.
able to make sure that in all these little nooks and crannies of cities that we have the most housing available and we have the best presentation that we can serve these agencies. And so it's pretty straightforward, but it also can be very difficult. But we've also, we started doing product for players. That's kind of, where I kind of step in a little bit more and I'm starting to reach out to all these companies and trying to get product. So like, I guess one of the things that I'm facing, I'm trying to basically bring together all of these agencies. Now we're working with multiple agencies, right? 9, 10 different agencies. And I'm bringing in all their players and I'm categorizing them. And hey, we're going to put them here. We're going to bring these guys this. We're going to get these guys this. And hopefully what we're planning on doing, what we've done a little bit of is endorsement deals where, some agencies don't have the opportunity to bring their guys paid endorsements. And there are different, ways, different websites and stuff that you can use, and they take 20%. Whereas our model, we take 20%, but we take 10% and we give 10% to the agency as well. And so that's like a model that we've been working with that we think, is beneficial, not only towards us, but to the agents as well. So, we're just basically really any way, but we're not trying to limit ourselves in just those kind of categories. If there's a challenge that an agent is facing, anything that we can help them with, we're going to put our best foot forward to basically try to, solve that issue.
Right. So basically, without doing contracts like an agent would do, you can do all the other stuff that they maybe don't want to do.
Yep. Basically, yep.
Yeah. No, that's good because you obviously had the experience from the agency on the marketing and endorsement side. So it's not like you need to, the contract stuff, you don't even have to worry about. You just start to, work with players and whatnot. So that's cool. I saw recently that one of the teams was the Baltimore Orioles started. They said they are going to start paying for housing at least. Maybe I don't know if it's just getting through the pandemic or whatnot, but they're either going to provide host families for some of their minor leaguers, or do you think ultimately that's going to hurt your guys' business if the teams start providing housing and stuff like that? Or can you somehow pivot and still be a factor?
No, I think that's awesome. I think, if the teams, I know the Houston Astros started doing that as well. If they start doing that, if they could be using our pro ball housing guide to use that, that would be extremely beneficial for us. But I don't want to say that we kind of influence that a little bit, but I hope that we do influence, more teams to take care of their minor leaguers, because we want that to happen overall. And, what we have is, as long as we can create an impact on these guys as they come up and, create these relationships with these guys, hopefully, they will continue to use Clubbie in the future. And now that we're using products and stuff, we're not taking it in a one-dimensional space. We're trying to provide more value in different areas. So hopefully, other teams helping out their minor league players, it's just beneficial to us.
Sure. And as far as, this year, 2021, now that minor league baseball did come back, even though a lot of teams got cut and a lot of players got cut, what's it been like, a few months in now of the minor league season and just helping and dealing with, what have you seen so far this season?
Well, we're just happy that they're back.
Right.
And, as long as they keep reaching out, and we have more a lot of direct communication with a lot of minor leaguers that are more looking for product other than housing. So now we want to be able to turn the table a little bit and focus more on, let's get these guys some product. Let's get these guys some sunglasses. Let's get these guys some clothing and gear that they can start taking pictures of, posting on their social media pages. Let's start building Instagram pages, Twitter pages for these younger guys. So when they come up to the big leagues and stuff, they already have something developed where they're not coming in with 5,000 followers and nobody's looking at them. And now that they're a big leaguer, nobody wants to work with them because they don't have a big enough following, basically where all the attention is at right now.
That's a bring up a good point there, because what's it like pitching a company when you have minor leaguers? Like, how responsive are they? Obviously, it's a really small company. They'll take maybe anybody to wear their stuff. But when you're talking about Bose and you're talking about other companies like that, what's it like pitching minor leaguers to these companies?
Well, there's definitely a lot of, there's a lot of tiers of products, right? So let's say off the bat, if I'm working with a minor leaguer and they only have a couple thousand followers, maybe I'm not going to bring them a Bose, but I'll bring them something else. Maybe,
Sure.
And we'll work our way up to the Bose. So it's kind of like starting at, where can we fit these guys in? Where are brands looking at and capitalizing on that? Because there's plenty of brands that people are not talking about that are trying to get their names out there. And those are the guys that we're finding and that we're putting on these minor league players, which is essentially building confidence overall.
Sure. And so you can just take a look at somebody's followers and say, all right, well, this guy's this level, so we're not going to push them.
Yeah, because right now, all these companies, they're all looking at Instagram followers, and that is the new wave. That is the new thing of marketing. Everything is built on social platforms and stuff like that. So if you don't have a strong social following, it's going to hurt you. And we've seen that across baseball. They don't have the biggest following as like the NBA, and you're going to see the NBA players on TV a lot more than you're going to see baseball players.
Sure.
And that has to do a lot with their social media followings.
Right. So for you guys with baseball, it's just not marketed well. So, I mean, how do you guys, I know you said you want to work NBA and NFL. They get way better publicity than baseball does. Do you think we can, with social media, what are your thoughts on how baseball is going to do this and get these guys out there?
I think the answer is these young Latin guys that are hitting dingers all the time. I think those are the guys. Fernando Tatis is coming in and he's building a storm. He's got, all these deals, the Gatorade deal, the Hyper Ice deal on the cover of the show. And I think really he is the initial person that's going to make that impact overall. And I know there are other ball players, like there's Acuna, there's Juan Soto that, they can do a little dance and people are excited to see them.
Sure.
But somebody to have an impact outside of baseball, I think, that's like Fernando Tatis. And I think these younger guys are starting to catch on a little bit, where like the people who are higher up in the MLB, they don't really understand social media or really how to get the name out there, where these younger guys have been, using it since high school, like, born and raised on it. So hopefully as they come up, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger.
Sure. And just one last thought on what you guys are doing. Are you only looking to work with athletes, or do you also work with influencers as well, like social media influencers?
Yeah. So we have recently just spoke to our first DJ,
okay.
and he has a solid following, and so we're not going to restrict ourselves to baseball players or athletes in general. We're going to kind of go against sports and entertainment, because we can kind of bring everything that we're doing and it's valuable to them, and there's no reason for us to put a limit on who we can reach, because we can really help anybody if you have the right social following. If you need help with housing, you don't even have to be a celebrity or anything like that. You don't have to. We can help anyone who needs help. Like,
sure. Yeah. You guys are, you're a services and marketing. I mean, you could really, exactly. And DJs, talk about Bose or, that's a huge deal right there. Yeah.
So, that's, we're really trying to, we really like to emphasize making the agent the hero. We want to be able to connect with as many people as we can, get Clubbie's name out there. And we think, we're ready to take on the world slowly.
There you go. So where can everybody find you guys on social media and online and everywhere?
Yeah, you can find us at Clubbie on Instagram and clubbieservice.com. You can go ahead and put in your housing requests or your athlete marketing requests, but feel free to hit us with the follow, hit us with the DM. I promise you we will reply and we'll have a little chat.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much, Noel. Glad to celebrate Clubbie, and I wish you guys a lot of success moving forward.
Yeah, thank you, Brett, for having me. It was a lot of fun.
And before we go, once again, I'd like to thank our new sponsor, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. They send out expert picks daily and they help clients win big. Click the link below or in the bio, wherever the comments you can find, where you can use my promo code Too Tall. That's TOOTALL. It's one word. You get 25% off all the text packages today. So once again, my promo code to get 25% off the service. TOOTALL. It's one word. Too Tall. And you get 25% off for your texting packages. They got great plays. They text you the picks right before the game starts. You go bet them on your own sports book or sports betting website. I use the service. It's going great so far. So highly recommend. These guys have been awesome to me. So VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Make sure you use promo code Too Tall so you can help the show as well as help yourself make a lot of money this year on sports bets. Thanks again. My thanks to Noel Prasad. Great episode with him. Hope you guys follow at Clubbie. That's CLUBBIE. Once again, Clubbie as short for Clubhouse Manager. So hope you guys got that explanation in there. And they're just trying to, help minor leaguers and help all kinds of athletes get endorsements and housing and, help where it should be for these professional athletes that deserve all these things. So my thanks to Noel. You can follow them at Clubbie on Instagram. As always, you can follow me at Too Tall Sports Podcast. That's on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at Too Tall Sports. Please head over to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and you can watch the interviews there. And we post them every week at 9 a.m. on YouTube. So subscribe and hit the bell notification to get notified every time we have an episode. Drop a comment, send it to a friend, whatever you can do to help the show. We'd really appreciate it. You can listen on Apple Podcasts on the audio side. Please hit the 5 stars. If you scroll all the way down on the episodes page, you can find those 5 stars. Please knock out those 5 for us so we can get some more exposure on Apple Podcasts. And drop a comment as well. Leave a review. Whatever you want to do, send it to a friend. You can also listen on Spotify. We're on Google Play, Pandora. We're everywhere. Amazon, anywhere you get your podcasts, we're there. Just type in Too Tall Sports Podcast. Thank you for listening as always, and I'll see you next week for another great episode. See ya.